And we're live.
Welcome to our Lake Tahoe recap. It is about 52 hours after Andrew finished.
Spoiler, I finished. This was the adventure of a lifetime. This was the race of a lifetime. I've been racing since 1996 and it's 2022 right now, and nothing's come close to this ever. So we're excited to share with you just the experience of what happened, but also some lessons that came out of it that I hope you can apply if you're an ultra runner, but also if you're a marathoner. And let's jump into it.
All right. So first off, I wanted to ask about leading into the race. What kind of expectations did you have coming into Tahoe 200? And did you have any goals for the race?
I think my expectations were higher than what I did. My goal was to complete it. And I hear this a lot from runners that I work with too. Like, what's your goal with a big race, especially an ultra? And they say it's to complete it. And I said that was my goal too, but also I had a time goal. So I'll hear this a lot. It's like, oh, I want to complete the marathon, but also under 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And I always say, well, those are two very different goals. And I kind of fell into that trap myself. And the goal is to complete it, but I also thought 82 hours was about what I could do. And I came up with that number thinking that it was really conservative. 82 hours came from averaging 20-minute miles for 200 miles and taking a 15-minute break at every aid station and every sleep aid station, allowing for a grand total of 9 hours of sleep. And I thought I would do three-hour sleeps. Mm-hmm. And that equaled 82 hours. So I thought that was very conservative. Turns out it was very, very, very aggressive. And I just didn't know what I was getting into. So my real goal was just to finish. And as the race went on, that became more and more the goal. As you know intimately, because you were with me all the way through the finish line. And we'll come to that, exactly how close it got and what it took to get there. But my goal going into it was 82 hours. Mm-hmm. It was like what I thought I was capable of, but really just finishing it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So that was kind of like the timeline. But how about like you just coming into this distance? You've run 100 miles before.
Yeah.
But that's the max.
Yeah.
What did you think it was going to be like to go double that?
I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I jumped from a 50-miler to a 100-miler. And I only did one 50-miler and jumped up to 100, and it was no problem. Mm-hmm. The race was tough, and I thought it'd be the same. Going from 100 to a 200, it's going to be really hard, but I felt fully capable of it. Mm-hmm. I forget the question.
What did you think it was going to be like to run 200 miles? You kind of answered it.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like 100, but just longer.
Yeah.
And I thought that it would be okay if you go slower, if you pace it way more conservatively, 20-minute miles, that it's going to be fine. And I thought that I'd be able to make it through 100 miles feeling, I don't think you can run 100 miles and feel good, but I thought you could hit 100 miles and feel like you want to continue. It's not that big of a deal. And I figure if I can hit that point, that the next 100, my mind and my heart will bring me through. That's kind of what I thought going into it. I wasn't super intimidated. I respected the distance. I knew it was going to be really tough, but I fully believed I could do it going in.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, the problem is, I think everybody who towed the line fully believes they can do it. And I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I think they would all tell you that.
And what percentage of people dropped this year?
Yeah. So the results just got posted 15 minutes ago. And there were about 260 entrants who started, and 105 or so people who DNF'd. And there was about 120, 130 or so who finished, and a handful who didn't start. Mm-hmm. So almost half of the entire field didn't finish.
Yeah. Nice.
But I think they would all tell you at the starting line that they believe they're going to finish. And we'll come into that. Some of the things I saw, I almost DNF'd. I mean, I don't know if I almost did. I never really was going to, but I really felt I was very close. And we got a couple stories there of DNFing, and it's quite real. I think anybody can DNF in something like this because it's quite a challenge.
ahead of the race, what was your training? How was your training different? We want to mostly focus on race recap, but
sure,
a little bit about that.
I really enjoyed the training. I did a lot of long, slow, easy runs, lots of them. I mean, 2 hours a day, many days, hour and a half was kind of my average. I think I did an hour and a half of running for like 8 months every day. And then on the like average, right? And on the weekends, my long runs just got up to 7-hour long runs, 9-hour long runs. And then I started doing back-to-backs, which I'd never done before. So I was doing back-to-back, 7-hour plus 3-hour, and then 8-hour plus 2-hour, and just kind of hovering around there. And then I got up to back-to-back-to-backs, and I did 2 of those.
Yeah.
And 22 miles average each of those 3 days. I'd never done anything like that before. It was quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't like speed work all that much. Sometimes speed work is fun when you do it regularly, it gets addictive, it gets really fun. But I like getting out on the trail with a water bottle and maybe some headphones every now and then and just going all day. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did for this. So I did neglect speed a little bit. One thing that I did a lot of was in February, I did a elevation challenge on a Strava group, and I was killing it. I was going back and forth, first and second place with this one dude. We were killing each other. I made it about 2.5 weeks in, and then boom, I really hurt my tibialis posterior, and I just stopped. Yeah. Didn't do any more elevation. And since February, it's been very little elevation gain. But I did enjoy, I overdid it, but I really did enjoy crushing the uphills and the downhills for like 4 to 6 weeks. And I could feel myself getting really fit. Just overdid it. So I went back to some hills, but just rolling hills, and took it a little bit easier because I figured it was better to get to the starting line less fit than to push it and never make the starting line.
Mm-hmm. Or show up like limp to the starting line.
Which I almost did.
Start out that way, yeah.
Almost did.
So that's great. If you guys want to hear more about those back-to-back-to-back long runs, there's a couple YouTube videos on the channel there, and Tahoe training.
Yeah, we've got one that's called, I think, B2B2B long runs. We posted a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, once this is on YouTube, we'll link those below.
Yep.
Great. Well,
let's get into the nitty-gritty of each section. So we're going to take you through each section of the race. The course was a little bit different this year. Normally, it's one loop around Lake Tahoe, and this year there was a fire, the Caldor fire in the southwest of Lake Tahoe, and we're not allowed to go over there. So instead, the race was an out and back, and it's the original course, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that kind of made it...
It's fun.
Kind of cool that it was not just a modified course for the wildfire, but also was a throwback to the original.
Yeah, and at first I was disappointed that we were going to go out and back. I wanted to run around the whole lake, but turns out everything is a blessing in disguise. And turns out that by doing out and back, the course had about, well, I don't know, not much, but maybe 2,000 feet less gain over the whole course, something like that. And I think it actually was the same mileage. It might have been 4 miles less, but I'm not sure. It was slightly easier, even if 1% easier. And it turns out I kind of needed that because I came in just under the the cutoff.
Yeah.
So everything works out, even though I didn't prefer that. It made logistics easier, and we'll talk about that. Drop bags and crew getting in to see you. There's only half the checkpoints, right? Because out and back, each drop bag counts twice.
Yep.
It made everything a lot easier.
Totally. Sure did. So section 1, starting line.
Section 1.
In Homewood, California to Stephen Jones aid station. That was about 10 miles.
By far the shortest section. Every section we had was 20 miles. There was, 18 and a half was maybe the shortest one, but they're all 20 miles. And this one was way shorter, but had some serious elevation gain. I think we had a 3,000 foot climb right off the gun, and then a 3,000 foot descent. And when you're fresh, that first section right there, it was just fun, no big deal. I did take off hiking right off the gun. The first 2 miles were hiking, as it should be. Some people took off running, and a lot of them DNF'd. Some of them didn't. Some of them, But taking off running straight uphill at the beginning, I don't think is a good idea. So I kept it very easy. 20-minute mile, 21-minute mile, my first 2 miles. Right in the middle of the pack, talking with everybody, having a good time. Didn't think much about it. I came through the first aid station. I didn't need anything. Filled up some water bottles, had some watermelon, used the bathroom, and got out. It was by far the quickest aid station because 10 miles into a 200, what do you really need?
Yeah. How are you feeling during that section?
On fire. Kind of felt like it was a 5K or a 10K or something. I got in and I wanted to get out of that aid station rapidly, like you would at a 100-mile or a 50-mile aid station.
Yeah.
I felt in control, and I was just trying to be intelligent. I was talking to myself about what to put in my pack, and just trying to be efficient and get through there.
You were on it.
Yeah, it was no big deal. Just warming up at that point.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's section 1. And you came through there about noon?
I have no idea.
You did?
I did, okay.
We were watching. So the next section 2, is Stephen Jones, aid station to Tahoe City. That was about 20 miles.
Yeah. Okay, now the race is starting to get real. You're starting to see ever so slightly people separating. There really was no separation in the race at all until about 70 to 80 miles in. Because even in a shorter race, even a 100-mile, people start running from the gun. And so their running paces differ and people will spread out. But in a 200, most people are doing a lot of walking. And walking paces aren't that much different. They're basically the same. So everybody, you're shoulder to shoulder with people for 36 hours. But it started to get a little bit less packed. And the second section was great. It started to get way more social because you're talking with people in section 1, but everybody's moving around so much. So I made a couple of friends. I met this cool dude named Brian. Turns out this guy ended up finishing the race 5th, and he was way back. At this point, we were in the last quarter of the race. We were way in the back of the pack. And this was intentional. I wanted to go out slow. I'm glad I did. And so did he. But this guy told me that he had run the Bigfoot 200 just last year. And he's at one point, 30 miles into the race, he was in dead last.
Wow.
And he finished in 7th. So his tactic was the same as mine, go out really slow. And I got to power hike and run with him along the lake and up this giant mountain for, I don't know, hours and hours. And cool guy. I liked talking with him. And we didn't hit nighttime then, did we? Not till the next section. So that was it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew came in. So Tahoe City is the first place that the crew could show up and be there, support, do a sock change, serve some hot food. And that was really fun. So we cheered him in to the aid station and then got him taken care of and out pretty quick. You didn't sleep there. It was only 30 miles in, and it was still daylight. It was 5:30ish, so on Friday.
I don't think anybody was sleeping at mile 30 yet.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Spirits were high. It felt just like, the midpoint of a marathon or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything's good. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
So then we moved on to Tahoe City to Brockway. Another 20 miles.
Yep.
Bringing us in from mile 30 to mile 50 and into the night. So I picked up my lamps. You have to carry emergency gear with you all the time. You have to carry required gear. So I always had a headlamp on me, even if I didn't need it. But I also had a waist lamp that was really bright, and I only carried that during sections I would need it.
Yeah.
So I took that, and heading into the night, I waited to conserve battery, right? The sun goes down, I don't turn the lamp on. I wait until it's too dark to see, and then I turn the light on low, trying to just conserve battery, just in case. It's kind of like just a mentality to conserve the resource. So I waited until it was almost too dark to see, and then I turned my waist lamp on, and it didn't work. And I was kind of freaking out. And I was with a guy who was very helpful. I think his name was Justin. I didn't see him again. I think maybe he DNF'd. I'm not sure. I'll reach out to him later if I can find him. But he was really nice, and he had his headlamp, and he turned around and shone it on my light so we could try to fix it together. And I tried. I'm like, oh, no problem. I've got a spare battery. And I swapped out the battery, and it didn't work. And I thought it might be in backwards, so I flipped it around, flipped the battery around. Didn't work. Couldn't get the darn thing to work.
This is with probably 15 miles left on rugged trail.
Yeah.
He needs this light.
Yeah, well, I do have my backup headlamp, thank goodness, okay? Yeah. So lesson number 1 there is always, in a race like this, have backup of every piece of gear. I think you should have doubles of everything, absolutely everything. Doubles of your packs, your bladders, your bottles, shoes, many pairs of socks, spare poles. But when it comes to your essential equipment that you would not finish without, I think these include your shoes, your socks, your light, and maybe your poles. And so you got to have, I had 2 backup lights. So I had 3 lights total. I'm glad I did because my main one went out, and if another one ran out of batteries, that'd be it. My race is done.
Yep.
So it did work. I made it through. We got hailed on that night. The weather was pretty good. It was very cold, but I actually like that it was cold. And all throughout that night, it just started hailing, but it was beautiful. It didn't get wet. It was just enough to make it pretty, and you could still see the moon. About 13 hours in right now, and it's hailing, which is pretty fun. Love seeing those.
Wait, that arrow says that and that says that.
That's not for our race.
No.
So let's go this way. There we go. That was it. And then that brought us into 50 miles.
50-mile aid station. That was Brockway Summit. That was kind of a remote one. You had to hike into it as a crew, about half a mile. And you came in feeling pretty good, I think. Yeah,
I ran in with a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And we all felt good. We all ran up to our crew, and things were good. The main thing I did at Brockway was I slept the first time. I didn't really need to. I didn't feel that it was super necessary, but I was trying to be intelligent and sleep early. And I just slept. I thought I might sleep up to an hour and a half, but I only slept 45 minutes. And I just naturally woke up and I felt ready to go.
Yep.
So we got my shoes on and got going.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have to do much there. You took good care of my feet there. I think I started to get a little blister at that point.
Yeah, we did some band-aiding.
Tiny little blister, but in something like this, the smallest thing that comes up, you want to address it immediately, ASAP. If you wait, it's no good. So even though it was a tiny thing, we made sure. And changed socks at absolutely every aid station. Fresh socks, clean the feet with wet wipes.
Yep.
And onward. It was still nighttime, yeah?
Yeah, that was about 1 a.m. He came into Brockway, and then you left maybe 2 hours later.
An hour. I was there for an hour 50, I remember.
Okay.
Total.
Yeah.
So that extra hour was spent eating hot food.
Yeah.
Chilling with the crew.
And I'll tell you, that little break was so necessary. My stomach was all gassy, and I was just, so I wasn't eating because my stomach was kind of bloaty, and I was just I wasn't in a bad place, but I would have gotten to a bad place. So I needed to stop. Had I kept going, it would have just stank really bad. But taking that break, I took an hour 50 at the aid station for all my food, foot care, bathroom, sleep, gear change, warming up, all that stuff. And I was running with a couple people who'd going into the aid station, and they didn't sleep. And I just passed a couple of them. So that 45 minutes was well worth it. It's already paid for itself. And I'm only like 6 or 7 miles outside the aid station, you know? So onward, in about 10 miles or less, I'm gonna go by my Airbnb, but I can't go in. So that'll be interesting. All right, we're in day 2 now officially.
So we went Brockway to, what was the next station?
Tunnel Creek.
Oh, okay. This one was good too. So
that was 15 miles. That was another almost like a little bit shorter.
This one's 15 miles, but it has definitely the most difficult section in it. It's got this section called the power lines. And the power lines, so we're right here, right now, we're in Incline Village. And we're right on the course. The course is like, not quite a stone's throw, but almost a stone's throw from here. And we go right by it. And leading into Incline Village, you go down these power lines this dirt trail on the power lines that's so steep, you kind of have to slide on your butt. And if you don't slide on your butt, you're sliding and trying not to fall over. It's not terribly safe. It's really intense. And it's a real pain in the butt going down. But at least we're only 60 miles in at this point, and your legs are kind of fresh. So it wasn't the end of the world. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. But we had that. So 15 miles, but it's not an easy 15 miles. Mm-hmm. And that brings us into Tunnel Creek, which psychologically was a good point, because that's where we're staying. And almost every day, maybe 4 days a week, I've been training on this section of the course and running up this giant mountain and running down and getting used to it. So it felt good. It felt like home turf at that point.
Yeah.
Didn't sleep. There was no sleep station there. Didn't need it. It was 65 miles in.
Yep.
Onward.
8 a.m. The sun had been up for a while. You're ready to go.
The sun was up.
Yep.
As I came by here. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I dropped my light. I don't know. No, I kept the light because I had to carry it all the way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kept everything on me. The next time I was going to see my crew was 50 miles away, which is kind of insane. I didn't really prefer that, but it's a long time to not see your crew.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So it kept going, and this brought us into the most beautiful section of the whole course. If you go to the Tahoe 200 website and you look at the pictures that they have with the lake, there's actually 2 lakes in the background. It's here, and there's the section that you hike behind Marlet Lake. They call it so Tunnel to Spooner is the section, and Marlet Lake is the lake that you're hiking along, and it's just it's like 73 miles in. Look at this, Marlet Lake and Lake Tahoe. Just keep going. It's like the most gorgeous mountain section I've ever run. 360 views, 2 lakes. You're really remote, steep cliffs. It's just great. I loved it, and still felt really good. Mm-hmm. No problems yet. At this point, we're only 75 miles into this race, and it sounds like a long way, and it is, but relative, it's still pretty early. Still felt pretty good.
Where'd you get your toes taped up?
Oh, coming into the next section. Okay, any of you who are running marathon or above, you got to hear this. I'm going to give you a great hack right here. I got into Spooner, which is mile 82, and I had a couple blisters, and I asked the medic guy there if he could give me a donut pad for a blister. And he was like, donut pad? You don't need that. No KT tape, no athletic tape. He's like, none of this stuff is going to work for a 200. We're going to use Leuco tape. I'd never used Leuco tape before. But he took my shoes off, cleaned my feet up, and he got this stuff called Leuco tape, Leuko tape, Leuco tape. And what it does is it acts as a second set of skin. So you place it on the blister, and you don't take it off because it will rip your skin off. So they told me. I actually was able to take it off later. Mm-hmm. But it glues down to your skin almost like you would just super glued a layer of skin over it. Mm-hmm. And then as you move, it'll kind of like heat and mold to your foot. And on the outside, it'll also kind of turn into skin so that it doesn't blister the adjacent toe. Mm-hmm. And once you tape it on, you just leave it on for the whole 200 miles. And he did this, and my toes were starting to hurt. I had 2 little mini blisters coming up and a third one like kind of starting. No big deal, but they were hurting a little. He put that on. The pain went away 100% completely and never returned for another 120 miles.
So cool.
It was a miracle. Leuco tape, get yourself some if you're an ultra runner. It's indispensable. It's a tool that is like next to your shoes and socks. Arguably it's more important than your socks. Arguably. Very important.
That's amazing. Yeah, it looked really cool too. If you've ever used moleskin, it like blows moleskin out of the water. It's much thinner and really molds to the shape of your foot, so you don't end up with these corners and lumps and stuff.
Yep, same idea as moleskin, but like just way thinner and more effective, better in every way.
So that was at Spooner Summit?
That was at Spooner.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's been good up to this point, and now the race gets real, and now issues and problems and fatigue and the story starts to come alive. This was all a warm-up up until mile 85. So about 3 to 5 miles after that aid station, I was feeling great. Everything's good. I got to the top of this mountain, and things started to hurt a little bit. I wasn't terribly concerned. No red flags going off, but I was thinking, yikes, there could be some pain cave coming. And at that point, I took a little video. The
first goal was get 24 hours, feel good. I did it. Second goal is hit 100 miles and feel like I can still go. So what that means is go slow now and hit 100, feeling the best that I can, and then eat and sleep and do whatever I can.
I got to the top of this mountain and only 15 miles until the next aid station where I'm going to see my crew and I'm going to get a solid sleep. I'm planning 3 hours of sleep, and it doesn't seem that far away, but it was the longest 15 miles of my life, hands down, by far. And right before it started getting really hard, I took this little video and I was talking to myself, just pumping myself up, saying with my belief, and it came down to this. Here's the buckle that you get for finishing. And I didn't say to myself, my belief wasn't that finish the race so that I can earn the buckle. My belief is that I already have it. This race is already done, and that this is a formality. This is the celebration, but the race is already done. And so if that belief is true, then the buckle is my buckle, not a buckle for me to select, but my buckle, the one that is this buckle right here. This buckle is waiting for me at the finish line. The one that's going to be home with me is already there, and nobody's going to select it because it's the one that's going to go home with me. It's there waiting for me to just pick it up. And that belief that my buckle is there, and I saw it at that point. I said it's white, and I saw it in my mind's eye, and there was a white one there at the end, so I was like, that one. My buckle is waiting for me at Homewood. My buckle is waiting for me at the finish line. My buckle is waiting for me at Homewood. My buckle, mine. It's mine. It belongs to me for finishing Tahoe 200. And it's already there on a table waiting for me to go pick it up. It's there. I can see it. It waits for me to put my hands on it and take it. My buckle. It's there. It's already mine. So this got hard now. So I'm at about, 85 miles. And way up at altitude here. I don't even know. I'm at probably 9,000 right now. 9,000 feet. Been going on 32 hours or so. It's a tough course. I started telling myself try to psych myself up that this is already done, no matter how hard it gets. And I just had to beat my chest a little bit and convince myself, double down. And I felt good and kept going until it didn't feel good. And I gave you a phone call, I think. Mm-hmm. How far? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you remember from the phone call?
So we were, myself, my brother and his boyfriend, or the crew, they were amazing. We had so much fun together. We were, we took a 1.5 hour nap, or tried to at least. Woke up to come out because we ended up meeting Andrew I don't think we slept that night because we met him at about 11 p.m. And so we packed up in the evening, and we were on the way, and we hit these crazy traffic, dead standstill. There's no, this area, it's the lake and then mountains, and there's one road. And we ended up sitting there for about 45 minutes. We left extra early intentionally, and so thank goodness. But we were questioning if Andrew was gonna beat us there, and then we also got a phone call, and he says, "I'm in really bad shape. I'm bonking hard. I need you to bring me juice. Come up the trail to meet me as far as they'll let you, and." Because I'm not gonna make it. Not you didn't say that, but I'm really struggling. Anyway.
Yeah. So these last 4 miles, everybody hated this section. Yeah. Everybody who I spoke with, which was basically everybody on this course, and going into Heavenly, those last 4 miles is like hell. Nobody likes it. I can see why. You think you're getting close, and it's another switchback and another switchback and another one. And I look at my GPS, and I think I should be there, and I think it's another mile. It turns out to be another 6 miles.
Oh, man.
But when you're bonking so hard, time goes really slow. So I ran out of food. I was bonking so hard, no food. Ran out of water. And I did have some food that I didn't really want. We have to carry emergency food. And I knew that I had it in there in my pack. And I didn't want it because it wasn't appetizing. I didn't have water, and it was like almond butter, and I didn't want that. But I took my pack off to find it because I was looking around, couldn't find it because I was kind of disoriented. So I took my pack off and shone my lamp on it and emptied my pack out, and I couldn't find it. And I did that. So I put everything back in and kept going, made it half mile, and I'm like, I'm bonking so hard, I need calories. And I did this 3 times, and I didn't find the food. On the 3rd time, I did find the food. But that's how like out of it I was. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. So this, just a reminder, this is 11 p.m. on Saturday. This is still good.
This is mile 90.
Yeah, almost 100 miles, and all of this 2 days in, almost on 45 minutes of sleep. So.
Oh boy, yeah. I'd only slept once. Okay. So I made it into Heavenly.
Yep.
Just barely, and I was not. This is the mother of all bonks. I've never bonked like this. My heart rate was through the roof, even though I was barely moving. My breathing rate was like I'm hyperventilating, even though I'm basically standing still.
Yep.
So ASAP was I need to get calories, and you brought me the giant thing of orange juice. Before I even hit the actual aid station, I just chugged the whole thing, basically the whole thing.
Yeah.
Got some calories in, and then had to sleep. And long story short about the sleep here, they provide a sleep station, but I lay down and I couldn't sleep. The lights it was very bright.
Yeah.
So bright. And there were people just talking everywhere.
It was an indoor area in a ski lodge, a ski lodge. Andrews picked his head up like, I can't sleep. He was very out of it.
Yeah.
So he said, stay here. And we went and set up the car to sleep in, which is a Prius. So we pulled all the gear out, laid down the back seat, made a bed there, and
fell asleep.
Came and got you. Yep.
Thank goodness. And I slept for 3 hours.
Yep.
And I estimated my heart rate to be about 120 sleeping. It was insane.
Wow.
And I knew I couldn't go on until that changed. But by the time I woke up 3 hours later, my heart rate was down, my breathing was down. I ate some more food, and I felt good.
Yep.
It took 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I hit the trail, and it was still dark. It was 3:30 in the morning when I hit the trail again.
Fueled by mashed potatoes.
Fueled by mashed potatoes and orange juice. Great. And love. I felt really supported by all of you guys. You cheered for me and hugged me, and it was great. So the next section was way easier. I felt on top of the world. I felt high energy. I was so grateful to just be moving forward at any pace. I could have gone fast, but I kept it kind of slow for the first 3 miles out of there. Just grateful that I can move. And then the sun came up. And then I put some music on for the first time. 2 days, 100 miles, however much time it was, no music. And I'm like, I'm going to celebrate. And I put on a Dave Matthews album, my favorite album. And I just like sang and danced and went down the trail. And I felt great. By the time that was done, it was great. And that next section, back to Spooner, was one of the best. I felt.
And I did something else for the first time. Took a dirt nap. I started feeling like I was just losing it and getting worried. Like, am I bonking again? And it didn't feel like a bonk. I had energy. Just my eyes were like closing. And I was walking kind of like sideways. And I was just tired, falling asleep really on my feet. So I'm at 48 hours right now, and I've slept a total of 3 hours and 50 minutes. So I lay down with my emergency bivvy, and I took a 13-minute nap, and I woke up and it's like I'm a new man. I just start going again. So I've got about 100, I've got about 86 miles to go.
The best. I felt good, felt high energy. And then I even ran the last 4 miles down into Spooner was all switchbacks. And I didn't run fast. I ran and then stopped and made myself hike and ran intermittently. But I took it pretty fast. felt good. Got into Spooner. And the camera guy who was there, he's like, I remember you. You're the guy who's really happy. I told him I was smiling when I left. And he's like, oh, you're one of the only ones smiling at mile 82. And I said, you got to stay happy, man. I guarantee you'll see me smiling on the way through again. And I was. And he's like, you're smiling just as much as you were. And I'm like, yeah, doesn't mean I did this whole time. I was eating it hard 10 hours ago, but I'm back now.
Speaking of eating it hard, what did you eat at Spooner Summit?
Yeah, almost nothing. Okay, so now I made my first mistake. Everything before that was luck of the draw and just what's going to happen. But I made a mistake at mile 112, and that was I didn't eat enough. The aid station didn't have much vegan food. They did have this leek soup that was delicious, but it wasn't a lot of calories. So I had that and watermelon, and that was it. But I could have had something else. I don't know what, but they had like Oreos.
And then did they have that much for you to pack your pack with even?
No.
Yeah, you didn't have a drop bag there either.
Right. So I didn't have enough calories. I felt okay.
Right. You were coming off of...
I was okay.
Yeah.
So I left that aid station feeling good and hooked up with some dude named Brandon. Forget his last name. I met you on the trail, Brandon. Nice guy. We ran together for many miles, maybe 5 to 10 miles. And we were going fast, power hiking together and even a little bit of running and jogging. Both felt on top of the world, high energy. Mm-hmm. I wasn't close to a bonk at this point, but the section was 21 miles long. So it felt good. Made it to the top, back up to this beautiful ridge where you can see these two lakes and everything's good. And I told myself the goal was, I said, I cannot bonk again. If I bonk like I did leading into the 100 mile into Heavenly, then my race is over. I can't handle that again. So whatever it takes to not bonk. Well, about 12 miles into this, I started to feel like, I'm going to bonk again. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have enough calories in my pack. So my tactic, the only thing I could do was you try to slow it down, but you can't slow it down enough. Not at 9,000 feet altitude when you're already bonking and you're moving. You can't go slow enough to avoid the bonk. You have to stop. So I stopped and I pulled out my Bivvy, which is, we haven't talked about this. On the previous section, I actually did my first ever dirt nap, which I'm a big fan of now. So I'm going to share with you guys. I haven't unloaded my pack since the race. It's leaking water everywhere right now, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's all rotting away in there. But let's see. We have to carry these things, emergency Bivvies. So here it is. This is my emergency Bivvy. It's basically just a giant trash bag that you go and lay in, like a sleeping bag. Oh boy, that's really wet and gross. And I pulled that out, and that was my tactic for not bonking, was just sleep. So I slept for 30 minutes, and I figure it's a nice bonus because I'll need sleep at some point anyway. Why don't I just get it now and allow myself to kind of let my heart rate come down and let my metabolism kind of catch up and breathe. Mm-hmm. And I did, and I waited until a pair of guys walked by and they kind of woke me up, and I asked them if I could have a couple of gels. And they had some spare gels, and the guy gave me one gel, and it was enough to keep going. And then I was able to get 2 gels off someone else later on. Thank goodness for people's generosity on the trail. Everybody was so nice. I helped some people out. They helped me out. It was like we all supported each other. And I barely made it. And then I met up with this really cool runner. Her name is Katra Corbett. If you're in the ultra running world, you might know her. Look her up. She's a pretty cool girl. She did an interview on the Rich Roll podcast. She's done more 200-mile races, I think, than anybody, or pretty close to it. Mm-hmm. And I hiked and ran with her for maybe 10 miles, which was really fun. And then the bonk happened for real. And this one was the problem. So we got just 3 miles before the aid station. And this is what should have been an easy run. It should have been 3 miles of downhill on like gradual downhill that's sand, so it's easy on your feet. And I planned to run it. But I walked it and had to take like 2 breaks. And I was going zigzagging across the thing and like falling asleep on my feet. And it was no good. But I just wanted to get to that aid station where I knew I could sleep and get some food. Mm-hmm. So I pushed through. And by the time I hit it, I was bonking again. And it wasn't as bad as the first one. But the problem was at the next aid station, I sat down. And when I stood back up, my calf this was the first problem that really happened in the race. Aside from that heavenly bonk, my calf locked up so tight, like I never experienced before, that I couldn't put weight on it. It was excruciating. So I thought the best thing to do was eat as much as I could and then sleep. And I ate as much as I could, but I couldn't fall asleep because there was a volunteer. I'm grateful for the volunteers, but one of the volunteers decided to get on a speakerphone conversation right next to me for half an hour when I was trying to sleep. So I just couldn't sleep. So I just got up and left. And that was the beginning of the biggest takeaway of this entire race. The biggest problem, the biggest overcoming, the hardest thing I'd ever done. And that was my calf locking up, walking down the road and trying to warm it up. And I'm limping and I'm using my poles and I'm going very slow. And at that point I saw you. So let me be quiet for a second here. Why don't you tell me, what was your perspective?
Oh yeah. So I came down to cheer Andrew on as he passed by, and he was moving very slow. He didn't have his light on at all.
Trying to save the battery. That was deliberate because I was on the road. So
we could circle back to, actually.
Okay.
This is a little missing piece of the story. Way back when his belt light didn't work, he came into 50 Mile aid station, and there was all three of us there as the crew. So there's all three of us there at the crew at the 50 Mile aid station, and Jimmy, my brother's boyfriend, just took the lamp and just fiddled with it, and I don't know, he flipped the battery around or something. He had a magic touch and
he fixed it.
The light. So
thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Magic man.
Okay, so Andrew was in very rough shape and very down, which is extremely unusual for him in general.
Oh yeah.
In life in general. Even doing like crazy hard stuff like ultras. Very down, discouraged.
I didn't feel like I could keep going. I didn't know how it was possible I could keep going. And I knew that I had by far the hardest part of the whole course coming right up.
Which is a very, like, an uphill.
So remember I told you.
With the calf.
Yeah. I remember I told you guys just now about that power lines. Well, now we're going back and we have to go up. Extremely steep. I mean, so steep that you basically have to crawl.
Right. And the sun is just set. It's getting dark. It's getting colder. He didn't sleep. He needs to sleep.
Bonking.
He's bonking because you were so out of it at the aid station. I guess you couldn't eat enough. Maybe didn't pack enough.
I ate, but it wasn't enough because this was like 40 miles total where you can only eat so much at an aid station. Mm-hmm. Not 4,000 calories, which is what I needed.
Yeah.
So this is where it got real, and this is where I kind of want to put some focus here for you guys. We said goodbye, and I caught some other people. I didn't catch anybody. I was going so slow. Some other guys behind me caught me, and I kind of tagged on with them for the remaining mile until we started climbing up the road to get to these power lines, just for some motivation. And I had to pull off. I said goodbye to these guys, and I had to sleep again. So on the side of the road, Incline Village, and these are like many multi-million-dollar houses. I can only guess, but $10 million, $20 million houses. These are.
We looked some up.
Even more.
Even some even more.
Okay, this
Waterfront,
place.
Yeah.
And they have like security at each of their driveways with gates, and it's crazy. So in this neighborhood, I'm gonna just sleep on the road, which is kind of like the place you probably don't want to sleep on this whole course.
But since we've been staying here leading up to the race and taking daily walks, we
knew that at the end of this road there was a park, and it's a park that nobody's going to use because there's the trail kind of like goes through it for no reason and comes right back. It's like this little extra park. Mm-hmm. So I knew about that, and I pulled over and I slept for 45 minutes, and I woke up at least able to tackle this hill. My calf again was completely locked up, couldn't walk on it, and it's okay. I turned my light off, and I was by myself, and I went up. It took about 1.5 miles to get up the road to get to the hill, and I just went really slow. I walked backwards a little bit. I tried to get my calf warmed up, It did not warm up, but it was good enough for me to just keep going. And now I hit the bottom of this hill, and I met up with some dude who was kind of just like evaluating and waiting, and we decided to go up together. And we started going up together, and I was going really slow because I couldn't put any weight on my right foot, at least not on my toes. On my heel, I could.
Okay.
So I'd put my poles down, and it was so steep that I wasn't using my arms. I would put my poles down and then like lean on them with my shoulder and try to like move myself forward and put my left leg forward and do this again. So it was very slow going. And this guy, him and I, we stayed together. And he was committed to stay with me. We were going to do this together. And at the top, we were going to take a nap and share nutrition. But about halfway up, he just ditched me. And I don't blame him because it took me hours to get up this hill.
Which is about a mile or two, right?
It's a mile and a half total, but the real hill is only 0.7, like the really steep part. So to go 0.7 miles, it took me, 3 hours. It was very bad. And here's where it gets good. I gave you a phone call here, too.
Before I got good.
Yeah, before I got good. Here's what happened. Oh, boy. I didn't want to give up, but everything said I should give up. I couldn't put any weight on my foot. I was bonked. I was super tired. And then because I was giving it hell to try to get up this hill, I knew that I needed to give everything I had, so I ate all of my food. And I'm in like mile 3 of the 15-mile section. I took my whole bag of dates. I just ate them all. I didn't even chew them because I couldn't. I just put them in my mouth, broke them up with my teeth, and swallowed them whole with water. So I drank almost all my water and ate all my food and was still bonking and tired. I had nothing, but I needed to do everything I could to get up this hill. And so I ate all that. I did all of that. And then I would decide, I'm like, I have to quit. Like, this sucks, but this is my DNF. This is my moment. I can't, how could I possibly go? And I'd say, no, I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm just going to make it 10 more feet. And so I would get up and I can't put weight on my foot, and I would make it like 10 more feet and I'd be exhausted. And it's so steep. It's so steep. I mean, at one point, it took me 2.5 minutes to take 2 steps, which sounds like an exaggeration, but go out to this trail. You'll see it's like this, okay? And I'd lay down and just trying to figure out what the heck to do. And some runners came by. They gave me some ibuprofen, thank God. And I did it again. So I did this 3 times. And I would tell myself, just make it to there. And I would do it again, and I'd make it 10 feet, 20 feet, and then I'd kind of collapse again. And it seemed impossible. My leg didn't work. I'd given it everything. I'd given it a good try, and given it a good try again and again. It's like relentless, and I wasn't making any progress.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I saw the lights from other runners way up there, and I'm like, I still got to go way up there, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was possible. And even if it were possible, I think it would take me so long. At this point, it had been 6 hours from Tunnel Creek Aid Station, which was only 4 miles. It took me 6 hours to go 4 miles. So I thought I was done. And I called you because I didn't want to be done. So I called Anna and I just described the situation. And I'm like, I just don't know what to do. I can keep going, but the problem is if I make it further into this section, I'm not gonna be able to get out. I'm gonna be really cold, hypothermic, bonked.
No fuel,
no water. And then the only way out is to drag myself out. But now if I go further, I'll have further to drag myself out. So I wanted to keep going, but I thought it might be dumb and I might die or something, you know? So I called you. And I'm glad before the race I told you don't let me quit, and so I'm glad you didn't let me quit, but you probably should have.
I didn't not let you quit either. I just listened. There was nothing I could do unless he said, "I'm done. Come get me." Even when we were down here and saw him passing by, we couldn't give him any water or food or warm clothes or anything because we weren't at a aid station where crew could support the runners, and it would have disqualified him from completing the race. So we were just, present to say, hey, you're doing it. And listen for a minute. But yeah, I was just there And part of me wanted you to say that you were done because then we could take you home and take care of you. And you've been in rough shape for so long. But then more wanted you to have the experience of completing the race.
So we made a decision. I made a decision, but you were there to support me. And that was, no matter what, I have to give it everything I've got, give it hell for 1 hour, one more hour. And I don't care if I make it 10 feet or to the top of the hill or to the finish line. But I'm for a solid hour, I'm starting my timer, and I'm going to crawl with my fingernails and do whatever. And if after an hour I'm in the same place, maybe I need to quit. But not until then. And I don't care what happens until then. 1 hour. Let's go. And you said, okay, go get it. And I turned my phone off. And this was the moment. Oh, I got goosebumps. This is the moment. This was what I 10 minutes later would declare as the greatest moment of my whole life. And that was 4 days ago. And it is. I think so now, currently. So what happened was I made this decision, and as soon as I made that decision, it just happens that the hardest part of the hardest climb is right there. I mean, this rock that just goes straight up. And so I put my foot up on it, and I go to put weight on it, and it's too painful. I can't put any weight on it. I don't know how I'm going to get up this rock without being able to put weight on my foot. And so I said to myself in that moment, then I looked at since I started the timer for an hour, I looked at my watch and 2.5 minutes had gone by, and I'd only taken one step. It was that hard. It was very hard. And I said to myself in this moment that I'm making a decision that my leg doesn't hurt. And I swore a lot, which I'm not going to do on this video here, but I was just swearing at just pumping myself up and making a decision and getting the fire in my eyes and putting my chest out and just making a decision and commanding my leg. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to step on you and it's going to be strong and perfect and great. And I fully believed that it would. There was no doubt. And it was a magic moment. And I put my weight on my foot and it didn't hurt. And I stepped with my other foot and I stepped with my other foot. Woo, and I was coming alive because it was working. And immediately after I had taken 4 or 5 steps with my poles as crutches, I then went, wait, if I believe that my leg is better, I don't need crutches. And I got rid of my poles. I put my poles, I just held them or put them under my arm or whatever. No poles. And just charged up the steepest of the steepest climbs I've ever been on. And no poles. And then I said, let's take this even further. And every time I hit a step, I'm going to lead with what was formerly my hurt leg. And I'm going to just step forward with my right leg on my toes. And I did. And I led all the way. And then there was this false summit. And then you make it to this really beautiful summit. And I just power hiked hard, all the way to the top of the thing. At which point I snapped a little video capturing this moment. I'm like, this is the best moment of my whole life. I need to capture this. And I did. And I sent it to Anna to let her know I was okay and I'm going on. At which point, here it is. This is the proudest moment of my whole life. Going up the power lines, my leg didn't work. I was going 5-hour mile pace for 6 hours, making no progress. And it was time to quit. And I just decided that I'm not quitting. And it didn't work. It got worse.
You guys heard the story.
Yeah, we won't tell the whole story again, but that was a real moment. And then I felt, the rest of the race, that was it. Once I made it through there, that was it.
Let's give one more little snapshot into this.
Okay. Hey, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't even know if I'm going to stop. I feel like I'm just going to run to the finish line. And I'm not going to even go to the aid stations. Okay, so that turnaround, I went from falling asleep on the trail, not able to walk, no calories, no liquid, not knowing how I'm going to finish, can't put weight on my foot, to charging down the trail, full energy running. And I can't explain it, but I know where it came from. I know that it came from, and I'm going to share a story with you guys momentarily about another runner who had the same thing happen. And I respect the guy. Like, I consider him my friend now, even though he lives 3,000 miles away. It was making a decision. It was making a real decision. And I truly believe that had I a wishful thinking, like, I'll do it if I can, there was every reason in the world to say I couldn't do it. And nobody would ever blame me. You wouldn't have blamed me. My clients, you guys here, you wouldn't blame me. I still made it 140 miles. And my leg blew up and I couldn't stand on it. What can you do?
Yeah.
Leg can't stand on your leg, can't run another 60 miles. A valiant effort. Good job. Get it next time. And it's acceptable. And so it's acceptable to me. And I even felt like, this is it. I'm going home. And I had to make a decision, a real decision, not just I'm going to try. It didn't even feel right to say I'm going to try for an hour. I just knew that I couldn't. It was too much to think about the finish line. I had to think about the next step. And that was the next step. But even that, I'm like, an hour, what am I going to do? Try for an hour? There's no such thing. But then the moment came where it's like, I'm going to put my weight on it and just go with full intention that it's going to work. With no doubt. And it did. And that switch. And there was this moment right when that happened where the thought came into my mind, what if you hurt your leg and what if you never run again? Or what if you hurt your leg so bad that you don't run for either again or for a very long time? And I said, bring it on. I don't care. If I never run again, fine. I'm doing this and nothing's stopping me. And as soon as that thought clicked in my head, that was the exact moment the pain went away and I just went. And I can't explain it other than is literally magic, you know? But I think we're capable of magic like that. And I feel emotional. I think we are capable of that kind of magic, but what it takes is a 100% commitment, a decision. And the difference between 99% and 100% is 100% difference. I said this to you earlier today, I think. The difference between 0% and 99% is this, and the difference between the 99 and the 100% is everything. It's everything. It's a full commitment or it's not. Mm-hmm. And in other races, I wouldn't have been pushed to a full commitment like that. In any other race, that was a good enough reason to stop. So I think it's really important to push yourself. You don't have to do this all the time, but every now and then in your life. And ultra running is a great way to do this, to find something that challenges you so much. Not the same kind of stuff you've been doing. I've only done 100-mile race. And that was 5 years ago. And this is 200. This was a big jump and a push for me. And because it was so big, it forced me to be 100%. If this were a 100-miler, I'd be like, well, I'll just get it next time. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to really level your life up sometimes in a giant way where you're going to fail unless you're 100%. Mm. That's my story of the power lines. Then, okay, from here, the rest of the race gets a little bit, that was the most intense part. Let's look at comments here for a second. This gives me goosebumps too. You're amazing. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We'll go through all the comments later. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments. And at the end of this, I'll answer or respond to every single comment. Thank you for being here. We will move on now. So going into the next aid station, it was really cold all that night. I met up with a bunch of runners who were really struggling, but they couldn't stop because it was so cold that it got hypothermic. So we all just kept going together. I met up with one woman who was on the ground just throwing up, and her pacer was there with her. She was in bad place. I had some Gas X pills, and I really felt like giving back because when I was really struggling, a guy came by and gave me ibuprofen, and he gave me 2 Spring energy gels. Write this down, everybody. SPRYNG, Spring gels. I'm not a fan of race food. I ate only real food for the whole thing. But these gels, they're not just like sugar or syrup. That's like blended rice and things like that. It's still processed, but it's a little bit more of a real food. But I got 2 of them that had 190 calories in a single gel. I didn't know they made gels that were that calorie dense. They helped a lot. So I was helped so much that I was looking to help somebody else when they needed it. I was very helpful that I could help that one woman who had the stomach pain and give her the Gas X pills.
Yeah.
Made it through that night, and 5 a.m. came, and I was maybe 5 miles away from the aid station where I was going to see you guys, and I was going to be able to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I started falling asleep hardcore, just like down the trail. It hit me, and my eyes were closed, and I was not hallucinating, but half asleep. And I had to stop, but I didn't want to. So I put on music again, and I pumped myself up. I put on Green Day. I like Green Day. And I ran. 5 miles to go into the aid station. Just started running. And people who had passed me all throughout the night, I passed them again. And I just kept going. Running kind of fast. Relatively fast for this race. Maybe, I don't even know. When I was running, maybe like 12-minute pace, maybe 10-minute pace, but then throwing in some walks too to be mindful. Mm-hmm. And it felt great. And I made it into the next aid station alive, full of life, smiling. And I came down. Last time you guys saw me, I was dying. Yep. And I don't know what you thought was going to happen when you saw me this time, but when I came into the aid station this time, I had my poles up and I was cheering and I was smiling and gave you guys hugs.
Yep. The sun had just come up. This was like 7 a.m. Monday morning. At mile 150, and he's running into the aid station.
7. So it took me 2 hours to run those 5 miles.
Yes, and just another note, it also took you 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. to go from one aid station to the next, which was about 20 miles in 11 hours.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that was
what happens.
So, yeah. So you came in, we got you sat down, bundled up in a big giant blanket.
Yep. Lots of great food again. Orange juice. Banana smoothies. Did you make me pancakes there?
We made you pancakes, and you had something else to eat out of it.
Gluten-free pancakes with lots of maple syrup, maple syrup.
Hot chocolate on the way out, but first...
Hot chocolate and coffee.
You slept.
Yes.
We made this real nice... Just right on the ground, in the open air.
Yep. And we have pictures
blanket,
of that.
Pad, sleeping bag, blanket, and he was out. There was this other crew came in for their runner, and it was like a group of 4 people, and they had their stuff on one side of us, and they were on the other, and they were running back and forth and yelling at each other about food and gear, and I was like kind of giving them the dirty looks because he had to sleep at this point.
Didn't bother me. I was out.
They didn't wake up at all. And they were awesome also.
There's a couple times where I was asleep and my crew or Anna would come and wake me up. I don't remember this, but yeah. I would wake up, and there was one time you told me that, okay, I was dead asleep, and apparently my eyes were open and I was looking at you.
That was here.
That was here?
Multiple times. You picked up your head, looked at me, and I said, "Hey, sweetie." And then he just put his head back down. No memory of that.
Not only no memory, what I recall from this sleep was that it was the deepest sleep of my whole life. It was blackout gonzo in a way that I've never experienced. So deep.
Yeah.
And you tell me that my head is picked up and I'm looking at you.
I know.
So I woke up to you talking to me saying, if you're not going to sleep, it's better to just get down the trail.
Yeah. Because I thought he was awake.
Yeah.
And so I was going to say, let's not just lie here. Let's either sleep or get you towards moving. But he was asleep.
It was news to me. I was asleep.
We cut that sleep a little short maybe, but it was probably good for the best.
So it was that one where I was sleep running afterwards when I hit the trail.
You were so out of it.
So I was like half asleep. You can tell by this story. But they got me up and got me going on the trail again. And I remember it. Like I was there, but just barely. And for the first 3 or 4 or even 5 miles down the next section, I was half asleep. It was kind of like sleepwalking. And I was going hard. And I was there, but almost not. And it felt weird and, half asleep. That's what it was. So what section is this? This is Tahoe to Brockway.
This is Brockway to Tahoe.
Brockway to Tahoe.
So 50 miles to 170.
No, 100. This was 150 to 170.
Sorry, 150 to 170. Yeah.
I think this section was good. I don't remember anything from it.
It was all through the day on Monday.
I don't remember anything.
You took a couple dirt naps. We saw you're ping,
Okay.
GPS ping stop a couple times. And then you were struggling at the end. But
Oh, yes.
feeling good.
Okay, I remember this section. This section I took 2 dirt naps. One of them 13 minutes, which is really good. I set my watch 13 minutes and it was bright sunshine and I just let it keep me warm and got up and kept going. I felt a little bit better. That was 10 miles through the section. And then at mile 13 through the section, I was bonking so hard again. So only 3 miles after getting up, I was falling asleep on my feet again. And I took another nap that was longer. I think, I don't remember, maybe 35, 40 minutes on this beautiful ledge, just like looking over this valley, mountains. It was just gorgeous out there. But I was hurting. Not so bad though. As long as I got to sleep, it was okay. It was a struggle. And then the last few miles, again, leading down into this aid station were a real struggle. But it was okay. It was nothing compared with the other ones. I made it. I felt okay. It was good. I just needed the aid. So we made it into, now we're at Brockway, yeah?
Yeah. And before, as he was coming in, we got a text. Mac and cheese, please. and juice. And all liquids. Everything else liquid.
So vegan mac and cheese, in case you're not, everything I eat is plants.
And we already had got it at the store. It was just a box of Amy's vegan mac and cheese. So I pulled out the cook stove. We were there plenty early, cooked it up ahead of him coming in, and
ready to go.
There you were.
Did I even eat it?
Oh, yeah.
I did, okay.
Yeah, you loved it. You ate all of it, the whole box.
Okay, the second time I didn't eat it, I think, which was later.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're at 150. And this is a
170.
170. Oh, thank God. The difference between the two is staggering.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a pivotal moment because we're not at the end yet. We have 2 sections to go. And the next section the last 2 sections are tough. Mm-hmm. They've got some mega climbs.
Yep.
And I'd never had a pacer in my whole life, but for this, I slept roughly, I slept a long time at this one. I slept 45, 50 minutes at this one.
We were able to set the car up again for sleeping, which was the best.
Thank goodness. So I got 50 minutes of sleep, I believe. And up and out, and then Anna was pacing me. And we head into the night. Mm-hmm. We head into the night. It sounds very ominous, and it kind of was. Mm-hmm. So at this point, there was this guy on the trail on the last section who I ran. Mm-hmm. I came up behind him. I ran by him, and he was turned to the side, all the way to the side, like all the way to the side. And I'm like, what's going on here? He must have broke his back or something. Mm. And I ran by him, and I was like, are you suffering? I didn't want to say, are you hurting? Because of course he's hurting, but I'm like, are you suffering? Mm. And he said yes. So I tried to give him a pep talk, and he was just suffering. He didn't really want a pep talk.
Yeah.
Turns out he had hurt his hip really bad, and then trying to compensate for it, hurt his back really bad. Mm-hmm. And he said he's not going to continue. He's like, I'm out. I was trying to give him a pep talk to make it to the finish, and he's like, nope. Next aid station, I'm out. And I was like, well, okay, congratulations making it 170 miles, man, on a wrenched back, and just kept going. But we hit this next section, and we saw the guy.
Yeah.
We passed him. He had kept going.
Yep, he had.
I couldn't believe it.
He was, while we were waiting for you, he'd come in. He must have passed you on that
when I was
second
sleeping.
dirt nap. And the medical folks ended up using our massage gun. They lost theirs, but they used our massage gun on him. And I don't know. He said it didn't work, but he did keep hiking.
He kept going, right?
Yeah.
Turns out, spoiler, he didn't finish. But I don't think it matters because he was in such pain and going so slow, and he made it 20 miles to the aid station and then decided to do another section.
Yeah.
Which
Amazing.
I think is badass. Amazing. So I didn't catch his name, but
nice job.
Yeah, nice job, guy. And then we met. The race is getting real at this point, and then we met some girl on the trail. So it's nighttime when we're going up this hill, and we see, sometimes you see lights up ahead. It's a runner that you're either going to catch or they're going ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And maybe rarely, I didn't see this, but it could possibly be that a hiker's out there coming the other way. But we saw a light that we were coming up on that it was shining right at us, like they were looking at us, but they weren't coming towards us or going up the trail. They're just standing there. Mm-hmm. And we got to this woman who looked really confused, and she said, I'm so confused. Is this real? Mm. what am I doing? Where am I? And she was so confused. And it turns out she hadn't slept at all. And she's at, what time are we in? We must be 80 something hours at this point. We might even be 90 something hours.
It was Monday at like 11 p.m.
So like 85 hours, whatever. Yeah. And she hasn't slept at all. So she was very confused. She thought that the government was trying to trap her on a mountain, and she was calling her friend and asking to get 911 help or emergency help. So I told her, you need to sleep basically now, like lay down, make a plan, put your bivvy down. You need 20 minutes of sleep, and you need to eat before you fall asleep. And you'll wake up and you'll be, I don't know if you'll be okay, but you won't feel like this.
The way you did it, though, you made it seem like it was her idea. You just asked her, you first said, come walk with us a little bit. So you got her moving. And then you said, do you have any food? And she was like, oh, yes, I have food. I should eat some. And so she started pulling her food out. And then you said, have you slept? She said, I haven't slept. When do you think it would be a good time to sleep? You have a big climb coming up. And how about right here? She's like, oh, yeah, this looks nice. It was cool.
Cool. I remember that how it felt. I didn't feel like her, but I felt really bad. And just being coddled and babied and spoken to softly, that everything's going to be okay. Oh, and you have this, and all you need is a little bit of this, and you're doing great.
Yep.
You're killing it so bad. I'm sure this is all you need, and you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Just like being talked to like that, but just like you're a little baby being held by your mother, is like you hurt so bad. And just having a warm hug by a stranger emotionally just turns everything around.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear you say that. Don't know what happened to her. I don't think she finished. But she lay down, and we didn't hear about any evac rescues.
She had a bivvy.
Yeah.
She was pulling it out when we left.
And we knew that there were 2 people at least behind us coming momentarily. Yeah. All right, so we kept going through that section, and it was the climb from hell. The longest climb probably of the whole course. It felt like it, and it probably was, literally. We just, all night, I think it wasn't almost sunrise, but it was only hours before sunrise when we hit the top of the hill. So it took us, I don't know, maybe you know better than I did. I feel like it was maybe 5, 6, 7 hours of climbing up this hill. What do you think? Is that an exaggeration?
Maybe a little bit, but maybe 4 hours to get from where we saw that girl to the ridge. Then we laid down. We took a dirt nap on the way up, a little 10-minute one.
Well, this was our reward. We were climbing this hill in the dark. So there's beautiful views, but you don't see the beautiful views in the dark. So you're just a light on the ground going up. Nothing around, no people.
I did see this giant waterfall by headlamp and moonlight. It was beautiful.
I didn't see it.
You were a little more
I was out of
tunnel vision. I saw, it was really beautiful. Meadows and...
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful section, I remember on the way out. So we made it to the top, and I remember thinking at the top, the reward is going to be a nap. So we made it to the top and took a 10-minute nap this time. I had 3 dreams.
I didn't fall asleep. But, yeah.
We woke up and tons of energy again. Started power hiking with gusto because I thought we were going to go downhill. Nope, 20 more minutes of uphill. It was a false summit, which was a little bit demoralizing, but I didn't bonk. What I really didn't want was to get that energy and then bonk right away. I wanted to use it for a downhill. So we made it to the top, and we caught up with some other guy who was struggling, and we all 3 of us hung on to each other, and we went downhill, all the way down to the lake. So almost from the highest point in the course to the lowest, all the way down to the lake. Took us a couple hours, and we were hauling. We didn't run. We were power hiking as fast as we could, and no breaks. We didn't stop for anything.
And we kept trying to slow down. We were right at about a 20-minute mile, and just kept saying to each other that, every time the watch would beep, and ours were like not synced, so it was twice a mile. We'd get a beep for the pace. 20-minute mile, 19:30, we call it out and then say, maybe let's pull it back a little tiny bit, but that was a set point.
Yeah, I'd say, great mile there. Let's shoot for 23 minutes on the next one. And we never hit that.
No.
But it was fun because we got to the bottom of the hill
Yeah.
and then sat down for 2 minutes. I time it. 2-minute break at the bottom.
Yep.
Look at the lake. Just get off your feet. The bottoms of your feet. This is the thing with not even in 100, but in a 200, the bottoms of your feet. Not for everybody, but I think for most people, there was maybe 2 people I talked to who said this didn't happen. Everybody else, the bottoms of their feet just really hurt just from pressure all the time. And mine for sure. And downhill really hurts it. So I just want to get off my feet, let the blood kind of get to them for a minute. And then we had maybe 3 miles along the lake, which sounds nice and beautiful. The problem is it's on asphalt.
Yeah.
And asphalt really hurts your feet. Trail is so much better. So
It was beautiful. The dawn was breaking
yeah.
against the lake, and it was freezing cold. The coldest, it was still getting colder leading into that aid station.
We have some cool videos that you took from that too. Just walking along the lake at the sunrise. I felt like I was hauling butt, and I saw their videos, and it's like an old man walking with a diaper that's heavy weighing him down or something. So, but I felt like I was going fast, just really tired.
How did you feel on that? There was a few miles uphill heading into the... Oh, yeah. We thought it was a few miles, and then it was more like 4, because every section of the race was longer. So how did you feel coming into the last aid station?
Excited to get there. I had good energy at this point, and we were power hiking. We were hiking fast. I was actually hiking as fast as I possibly could through those meadows and stuff.
Yep.
Right? Couldn't have gone any faster. It was one of these,
Yep.
and made it into the final aid station, at which point didn't need anything. It's like I'm on fire. And okay, at this point, we've been looking at the clock. I didn't think that I would be anywhere close to having a cutoff time get close to me. I thought I'd finish this race in 82 hours, and the race has a 100-hour cutoff time. But we kept doing the math, and it's like, we're getting like closer and closer. And any lollygagging would cost us the race. We got time to get there, but we have to move. We can't take breaks that are too much. Can't mess up.
Yeah.
If you bonk, that's going to be it. We got to go.
Yep.
So we got to that aid station. Turns out I forget how much time we had, but we had enough time. But the problem is the next section is one of the most difficult. It's only 10 miles, but it's straight uphill. It's very steep. And then when you get to the top, it's straight downhill on the snow, so you're slipping and sliding everywhere. And we knew this, so we knew we had to go. We did take a nap.
Yeah, we had a crew. The rest of our crew was out. Peter and Jimmy. They brought us watermelon juice, smoothies, hot food.
Didn't even eat much.
Yeah, I had some soup and the juice. In opposite order.
Watermelon juice and some butternut squash soup, right?
Yep.
That was it. And we took a 20-minute nap. Yeah, in the car. And I didn't even think we needed the nap, but I wanted to get some insurance because I knew if I bonked on this last section, I wouldn't make the cutoff. So, and we had a little bit of extra time. So I'm like, just use that time, take the nap do everything you can to avoid the bonk.
Yep.
And we did, and we hit the trail. And the cutoff to hit the trail was about 8, and we hit it at 6:45 or 7:15. It was like
Right in there.
something like that.
I think that's when we got in and out of the aid station. 6:45 to 7:15 about.
So we were 45 minutes ahead of the cutoff to get out of the aid station. And I still felt confident we're going to make it. And lots of energy. So the first mile or two were actually like kind of flat before we climbed. And we ran, didn't we? A little bit.
A little bit.
Just because it felt good. Not because we were trying to make the time, but it's like, my feet hurt, everything's good, let's just change it up. And I felt, it's like, now we're going to make it. We're at the end. And Jimmy gave us the best like cheerleader pep talk ever. It's like, your first 200 miler, you've made it. You're like at 190 miles and only 10 miles to go. This is easy. Woohoo, go have fun. And we were and the sun had just come up.
Amazing.
On the last day. We're doing it. So there was so much energy, nothing could stop us. And so we ran a little bit. And then even the very steep hikes, we hiked them with authority. And we didn't stop.
Yeah.
At all. We didn't stop to like admire the view. We don't even stop to pee. Okay. When I pee on the trail here, I walk while I'm peeing. And over the course of 4 days, it saves you an hour or so. So we just kept going. We made it to the top. And then that was it. on the way down, we hit lots of snow, and we just had fun, and we laughed, and we slid on our butts on the way on the snow. We've met some other runners, and we all slid on our butts. It was just easier and faster to slide than to try to run. And we got out of the snow, and we had maybe 3 miles to go on like really steep. So we're on a ski resort right now, literally on the Black Diamond and Double Black Diamond trails, because you can see the signs for the trails. We're just on them, going down this mountain, very steep. And we start running a little bit, trying to let the legs go. And that's it. We come along the last switchback, and we're running, and we hit this nice packed kind of cedar trail. And Peter came up, one of the members of our crew came up to meet us. I told him, come up and run across the finish line with us. So we did, and the three of us, we just ran on the steep downhill all the way to the finish and really let it go. I don't know how fast I was running at the end there, but I just let it go more and more on these legs that were pretty tired, and I felt like I was running like 5K pace at the end there. And the truth is that my legs were not a limiting factor. My quads were fine. My hamstrings were fine. My calf, hey, it turns out it was fine. The limiting factor, because you're going so slow, it's not the muscles, it's your feet and your sleep. And that's it. And I guess your calorie intake. That's it. It's not your muscles. If you're like a strong runner, you can do a 200 as long as your feet hold up. And you can deal with sleep deprivation. So we plowed through, and it turns out there was only 4 or 5 runners behind me before all the cutoffs. So I was 5th to last across the finish line. I finished in 98 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. And I couldn't be more proud. I don't care that I was in the back of the pack. I mean, I really wasn't, because over 100 people behind me had dropped. So it's really mid-pack. And I think just completing the darn thing in any time is quite an accomplishment. And being out there continuously moving for 98 hours is something that is quite an accomplishment. I feel very proud of. So at flying colors, across the finish line with you and with Peter, and Jimmy was there too, and we all took our pictures together. And I got my Tahoe finishers mug and buckle, and the race director was there. They take pictures, and then we all hang around at the finish line. And you want to tell them what happens at the very end?
Oh yeah, well, totally. It was really cool coming in right at the end of the time window, because an hour before the 100-hour mark, for the last hour, there's party time at the finish line, and they've got food, and everybody kind of comes back to cheer in the last runners. So we came through for that.
And everybody was there.
Everybody was there, and they were going wild.
Yeah.
Nobody else was sprinting across the finish line. So that was everybody.
Well, nobody that we saw.
Well, yes, right.
But really, I sprinted across the finish line.
Yeah.
And there's probably some people probably do, but
yeah,
it's not easy to do that. So that was, but everybody was there. People who had finished days before.
People who didn't finish.
People who didn't finish.
Everybody's crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the very end, for the last runner, it's tradition that everybody gets up and makes a human tunnel like this. And it's, it's a lot of people. So it's a very long tunnel. And the last woman was coming in with her pacer. And so we all lined up. And they had the cameraman and filmed her coming through the tunnel. And she was like crying. And it was
beautiful.
Cool.
And all the people, not all of them, but like when we were all standing like this, a lot of people were tearing up just watching her tear up and come through. And her name is Jessica Wicks.
Amazing.
From Oklahoma. 99 hours, 32 minutes. And there were a lot of people behind her, but they didn't get on to the last section before the cutoff.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people at that aid station. I mean, there might have been like 15 other people there at the aid station when we were there.
Yeah.
Who didn't even get on.
Right.
Didn't even try. Because it was really tough at that point.
Yeah.
So that was her name here, Jessica Wicks. And she was last, right? And she was only I was 98.38 and she was 99.32. So she was less than an hour.
Yep.
So that means we were less than an hour off of being the last finisher. Mm-hmm. And that just makes me smile. I don't even care. It was epic, yo. So that's the Tahoe 200. That's everything that happened in detail. If this interests you at all, these races are really cool. There's 3 of them. There's the Bigfoot, the Tahoe 200, and Moab 240. There's other 200-mile races. These 3 are put on by Candace Burt, who directs all 3. They're really well known. They attract a really great crowd. The volunteers are the best volunteers at any place I've ever seen. Even at the aid stations where I didn't have crew, they come and they put a blanket around you, take your food order, and go cook it for you and bring it to you. They'll take your shoes off and clean your feet and change your socks. It's amazing. They're the best volunteers ever. It's a life experience. I don't think I'd recommend getting into a 200 if you haven't done at least one 100. I know other ultra runners out there would say you should do a lot of 100s. I don't think so. I don't think you need to. I think if you make a decision that you're doing this and nothing's going to stop you, that you can do it. Mm-hmm. But having the experience of at least running a 100 mile is, I think, probably necessary just to know what you're kind of getting into.
Yep.
Might be all I have to say.
You did mention a story earlier. You were going to circle back to what Brian experienced.
Oh, I told you about that guy, Brian Estes. This guy, okay, we got his results here. So I told you at Bigfoot, he told me he went from dead last to 7th here, and we were together on, yikes, ultrasound up. Is buffering. Anyway, I remember where he went. He finished 5th.
Yep.
In 60, here we go. I think it's like 62 hours. So this guy, him and I, we were running together for a good long time. And I'm just telling you, I mean, he was walking.
At the beginning. For
the whole first 24 hours. Mm-hmm. He ran a little because we were running together, but it was like very slow and very short periods. Mm-hmm. And he finished 5th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is possible. This is what you can do by just not blowing up. I blew up a lot. I had a lot of problems. This guy, he's done a bunch of them before, so he didn't have maybe as many problems. He didn't sleep at all. I kind of think that a 200 mile is really about how much sleep deprivation you can tolerate. I have a lot of difficulty with that. But if you can get by with very little sleep or no sleep, this guy, he said he didn't sleep a wink.
Yep.
If you can do that, right there, that cuts off 12 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yes. You're not asking me about that. You're asking me about his injury.
Yep.
Okay, here it is. Okay, this will be the final thing. Leave on this note. This is cool. I told you about everything that happened to me with on the power lines. Turns out this guy, he had the same thing happen. He said he was coming into, I think, 150, something like that. And his hip had... He stopped at the aid station to get water or whatever, and his hip was like locked up, and this pain was radiating across his belly, and all his midsection was getting worse, like really quick. And it's like a problem. You should probably go to the medical. You should probably stop, at least walk for a little bit. And he said he just made the same thing. He said he made a decision that he's not going to let his hip lock up. It's not going to happen. Come death or not, he's going. And so he just kept running, and he kept hammering on it and running and like hammering the pain until it went away. And it went away. And when I saw him at the finish, he said, "It's fine, went away, no problem." And you know what? My calf, no problem. I could jump on it, I could jump rope on it. It's like it didn't happen. But it was this crippling pain that kind of required significant medical attention. And it's gone. What happened? And it's not just me. This guy experienced it too. Mm-hmm. And he said something. He didn't hear me say this. He told this to me. He said, I made a decision that this might, I think he said, like, what if this kills me? What if I die? And he's like, so be it. Fine. I'm finishing this flipping race. And so that's another example of 100% commitment, not 99% commitment. Mm-hmm. I don't care if I die. I'm doing this. Nothing will stop me.
If I can never run again.
And the one that I made was, what if
he said
that too?
Never run again. Yeah.
Okay, so both of us said, what if I hurt myself and never run again? And we said, fine. I'm doing this race and nothing will stop me. And not ironically, that decision got us both not just to the finish line, but took our injuries that were like crippling and just dissolved them away as if they never happened. And I can't explain that. And he couldn't explain it. And I don't think anybody can. But it's amazing, and I want you guys to hear these stories because this is what this sport is about, is overcoming those giant mountains, like that are both metaphors and literal. And how can you possibly scale that entire mountain when you're like a little ant who has no legs and is bleeding out of the neck? It's like, you can't do it, but you actually can. And where's the human limit? Nobody knows. And I think if you have that decisive mentality that there's no limit, because had I dropped, that would have been the limit. And the limit wasn't the physical. It would have been my mind accepting that it was the limit. So it wasn't really a limit. It was just what you accept as the limit is the limit. And we hear this with elite athletes all the time. It's like, my mind overcomes and there are no limits. And we hear it and we kind of believe it. But there's a difference between kind of believing it and being inspired by it and having that moment where you really do, not just say, but you really believe, if this kills me, fine. And you know what? It reminds me of what Bruce Lee said. He said, I decided long ago that if you're gonna come after me, you better kill me, because I think that's all. That was it. He said it because I made up my mind a long time ago. You better kill me, because he's not going to stop. He's going to win. And it's that mentality. I think that mentality made Bruce Lee great. And it's the same kind of thing that made, I mean, you name it, really like remarkable athletes. It's the ferocity. Muhammad Ali, am I really the greatest of all time? He just kept saying that. Am I really the greatest of all time? He knew he was the greatest of all time. He didn't think it, he knew it, and he was. You know? Prefontaine, that guy was like the beast. He knew he was the best, and he was the best. So
amazing.
That's it.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank for watching.
Hope you learned something.
Race report, Andrew Snow, Tahoe 200.
2022.
Hope you learned something. Wonder if you haven't run a 200, would you ever consider it? Leave a comment. Let us know. Leave any questions, and we'll type back to you.
Have you run a 100? What do you think about 500? There's actually talks about the race director here.
Yeah.
Just talks. It's just rumors. I don't think it's in the works yet of putting on maybe a 500.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? Is it crazier than a 200? I don't know.
If you want to hear more of nitty-gritty how-to kind of details and lessons learned and tips for 200 miles as opposed to other ultras, find our YouTube channel, Run Elite, subscribe. We're going to be putting out some more videos.
Lots of content on what makes a 200 different than a 100 and some other hacks learned. We'll make them really short. It won't be like this, and it'll be fun. So we'll see you there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's, before we hang up, let's see if there's, thanks for the support, guys. I got a couple of comments here just saying congratulations and so amazing. And thank you. I feel like this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing I've done in my life, I feel like. And having so much support from you guys in the Facebook group and family and friends, it really did make a difference. And it's sad to go, sad to hang up, but we're going to go pack up and rest up and run another one. Maybe in 2 years, I'm going to run another one. I might run one sooner, but I want to train up and be able to compete at a higher level for the next one even. So we'll see you then. Take care. Bye.